and Melodies are also the Knights of Malta. So
Prescott Bush was also censured twice by the government and ordered to stop trading with the enemy during the war.
And that was just a hoax, because if they really wanted to do that, they would have tried him for treason and executed him. It was just for public consumption.
No, it was consumed. Okay. The protocols, the famous protocols of the Elders of Zion. Real or fiction?
Real. Protocols, they're not a forgery as far as its contents. Everything that's in the protocols are true. That's happened.
Okay.
But the men who wrote the protocols, according to Leo Lehman, who was an Irish priest, who later was converted to the Christ of the Bible, who, while he was a priest, conducted a trial in the Pope's sacred rota on behalf of American bishops and priests against the Jesuits. So Leo Lehman came out in his great book, Behind the Dictators, that he published in 1942, and said that the Jesuits wrote the protocols, and they were modeled after a previous book that the Jesuits had written called The Secrets of the Elders of Borgfontein, which was a book written against Jansenism.
Huh.
The Jesuits wrote the protocols.
Boy, there's been a big effort out there to discredit the book as a hoax, as you well know, for years. But you're saying that the protocols are, in fact, a legitimate piece of writing.
As I read them, everything that's in there has happened.
Okay. All
and
right.
So, and
Is there life elsewhere in the universe?
Yes, I did.
Strange. An interesting question to drop right in there. But,
yes, it is.
Let's hope there is. All right, go ahead.
And the protocols was written at the time of the Dreyfus Affair, according to Leo Lehman.
Oh, all right. So those who would say that protocols are a hoax would have a real argument with Eric John Phelps. Okay.
Well, I would never attribute them to the Jewish people.
I understand, but the point is that the basic mechanics and the data contained therein, in your estimation, is 100% legit.
Absolutely.
Okay. Did Henry Ford ever apologize for the International Jew Series? Yes, he did. I had that story up on my website, in fact, at one point. It was kind of a hedging apology, but he did make at least a quasi-attempt to do so.
Oh, that's interesting. Never knew that.
Perhaps, let's see here. Also, what about your evaluation of Michael A. Hoffman's extensive research? Anything to say about Michael Hoffman's work?
I'm not familiar with it.
Okay. Michael Hoffman has been on this program in the past. You can hear that in the archives as well. Okay. Let's go to the telephone, and first up tonight, Carolyn in Ogden, Utah. Hello, Carolyn. Thanks for calling in. What is your question for Eric?
Yes, I have just three short questions.
All right, let's take them one at a time.
Okay, one. Are the Jews a race of people or a religion?
All right.
First and foremost, a race. The Bible talks about the sons of Jacob. In Malachi, the Lord says, I am the Lord, I change not, therefore the sons of Jacob are not consumed. It's first and foremost a race. Then it's secondarily, they have a religion.
Okay. And the second question is, how does the other religions fit in with the Jesuits?
All right.
The other Protestant religions, or?
Yes.
Well, the Jesuits, remember, are the soldiers of the Church of Rome, so you're talking about the non-Catholic religions, I would assume.
Yes.
All right.
Well, the Jesuits control, for example, Lutheranism through Freemasonry. They control Presbyterianism through Freemasonry. Anything that has a centralized church government is ultimately controlled by the order through Freemasonry. They control the Moonies. They're controlling now the Southern Baptist Convention with 500,000 Freemasons in that denomination. So they control all the Protestant denominations now, for the most part, through high-level Freemasonry.
Oh, okay.
Just like they control the Nation of Islam.
Question number three.
And the last one is the LDS Church part of the Jesuits? Are
That's
they controlled?
Correct. Yes. The Mormon Church was started by a Freemason named Joseph Smith, and then ultimately led by Brigham Young, who was another Freemason. And Brigham Young was a personal friend of the most powerful Jesuit in America in the 19th century, whose name was Peter de Smet, who led the great wars against the Indians, the wars of the Great Plains and the Indians.
He was rather a butcher, according to some historians.
Absolutely. Well, de Smet, he controlled Philip Sheridan. Philip Sheridan was a Roman Catholic general who was the head of the U.S. Army, and he ignited the Indian Wars of the Great Plains in 1868.
All right, Carol, I hope that answers your questions.
Just one more comment. So then the Mormon Church is tied in with the Freemasonry big time.
Absolutely. If you check with the Holy Underwear, the Holy Underwear is the compass and the square.
Go back and do that again. Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, give me that. It might have gone by too quickly for some people.
Okay, Joseph Smith was a Freemason. Brigham Young was a Freemason. The temple, the Mormon temple, is patterned after Solomon's temple. In fact, that was a dry run for the rebuilding of the one in Jerusalem.
We had the Cold War for a long time, the threat of nuclear war, and there were several occasions, apparently, during which the actually exchange of nuclear weapons was almost accomplished, as it were. We came close to some pretty bad times, but by and large, the Cold War was a fraud and a hoax perpetrated on the peoples of the world. I'd like to hear Eric speak about that.
Yes, the Cold War was planned much earlier, probably at the turn of the century. It was planned by the Jesuit order. They planned to run the Second 30 Years' War from 1914 to 1945. Then with their nuclear war hoax, their airborne nuclear war hoax that they established at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, because no bombs were dropped there that were nuclear. They were flash devices, and the nuclear devices were on the ground. And when they created this nuclear war hoax...
Whoa. A lot of people said, wait a minute. The Enola Gay did not drop the Fat Man or the Big Boy? The two bombs?
Yes, Boxcar dropped Big Boy, and Enola Gay dropped Fat Man, but they were not nuclear bombs. They were flash devices that signaled the Jesuits on the ground, because Pedro Arrupi was the rector of the novitiate at Yamaguchi, which was in between Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And there is where they assembled their nuclear devices on the ground, because they had first detonated one of them in Tunguska in Siberia in 1908. So they went after...
By the way, if that's true, I believe it was an aerial object, but if that's true, that was one